Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of I Am Black Redefined. Here with me today is Will Radford. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Thank you for being a part of today's segment. I'm very excited to be interviewing you and sharing just a little bit more about you and your story. So we know that you are the co-owner of Local Distro with your brother Rod.
That's correct.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about how you all came to the journey of opening this store. I know you are giving back and giving really a presence to people who might need to be seen.
Well, almost with any real estate, it starts with an opportunity. And so we live on Fifth Avenue, and we saw the property at 7th and Garfield and thought it was an opportunity to create in our own neighborhood. And so the idea of creating a market was in response to the neighborhood's need. But then as we began to design and develop what it looked like, we realized the neighbors were more than just homeowners, but sometimes people who are transient, people who are here for weeks or days or months at a time. And so the opportunity sort of became a responsibility because it became a way to connect two different types of neighbors in one community. And so the things that we offer here are a result of the different types of neighbors that we have. So it's a place to gather, it's a place to buy hot food, it's a place to buy some groceries that you need that you can go home and prepare your own meal. It's a place to make connections with people that you haven't met before, different types of people. And so it certainly fits kind of who we are. The most basic sense is hospitality, a way for you to come in and know that you're at home and you're welcome here. But then you get a chance to connect with people that don't necessarily have the same story that you have. So that's kind of what we're about and where we're from. We were originally from Arkansas. We've been in Nashville. I've been here for 20 years, since 1999, TSU College of Engineering. But then beyond that, my brother moved here in 2005, and then he moved back here on a temporary basis to help open this shop. And I think he was attracted to the idea of building a community asset that had a focus and an opportunity to give back.
That's such a strong sense of community. And then
Absolutely.
I think too, with the community that is here, they can easily walk to the store. They don't necessarily have to drive, you know, for everyone that's around here. That's amazing. Now you also have a Montessori school. Tell us about, yes, sip that tea. Tell us about the Nia House Montessori School and how you came to found that.
So this goes back to 2001 probably, second or third year in college, and reading a piece called To Be an African Teacher by Asa G. Hilliard. And in that piece, Asa Hilliard said, unless we reclaim the educational opportunities of our children, we will cease to exist as an intellectual people. And when I read that, and my wife and I were just dating then, but it's certainly part of the idea of who we were in terms of giving back and mentoring and tutoring at Stratford High School, mentoring and tutoring through the Village Church. But it's this idea that education has so much to do with the formation of a person's identity that if you separate education as something for another or those who are available to do, then you'll miss the opportunity to really give a strong foundation to the generation that comes behind you. And so I think indirectly it was a passion, but certainly in 2008 a group of community leaders who were working in schools, were parent-family coordinators, a group of five of us, sort of coalesced and said, how can we increase the amount of Montessori education being done in the city? And it was really as a result of realizing there are only 2 public Montessori schools and then a lot of private suburban schools.
Right.
So that meant there was a big gap of people who did not have access to Montessori education, which really, I think, gels well with the idea of who culturally we are as African people in terms of how we learn a lot through storytelling, learn a lot by listening to people in the oration versus just reading from paper and writing on paper. Which, I mean, we learned to perfect both skills, but the idea of, again, education identity aligning, finding that it's not a deficiency to have a different learning style, but it's something that you can celebrate through Montessori. So Sensaria Radford, my wife and I, along with Darlene Neely, Marquita Hope, Ariel Fuquay, Tramita Norman, were sort of the organizing group that got Nia House started. And it's been a phenomenal ride because all that we hoped we could offer, it's been able to offer that and more. Families that are in the sort of middle income strata that make too much for assistance but not enough for traditional private school. That was sort of our target market, and we've certainly met that. And we give about 40% of the student scholarships, so we actually are making connections to really go beyond what our original goal was.
Oh my goodness, I absolutely love that. And it's so unique. And I think, like you said, it's definitely needed in our community because that middle bracket right there, it's a really tricky area to be in.
It absolutely is. And it's shrinking as Nashville continues to grow so fast. I mean, either you're able to afford it or you're not. And so you can go from middle to the lower third easily. And the challenge is really understanding education really is a way to access different economic opportunities too. So for our children, they start with an advantage of understanding their identity, their education, its relevance to economic access.
I love it. Now, with everything that you are doing, I'm sure you've had to encounter some challenges. If you could just share with us some of those challenges that you've had to face and how you've overcome them, just to kind of give some inspiration to our viewers.
It's excellent. I would start personal challenges is where I start because I think you have to overcome your own fear. I think the Morgan Freeman movie where it says, your fear is that you're infinitely great or something to that effect. It sounds coy, but in reality, there's a real challenge to sort of tapping into whatever feels like the highest and best because we get tired. And so I think personally, after having a 10-year corporate career in hotel development, the idea for me was if I can work this hard for someone else, what happens if I work harder for myself? But then the trading in a 40-hour-a-week job to take on an 80-hour-a-week effort with no guaranteed pay, that's the fear that it is hardest to overcome. And so personally, the challenge is how do I buy myself time to create or give life to the genius that I feel like is within? Because without the time, the genius can't really manifest. And you just don't have the space to let it out.
Right.
And so I think real estate for me has been one of the ways to overcome that because while working corporately, structuring to only live off about 60% of what I earn so that you can make investments in real estate, and then those investments is what carry you through this period while you're trying to prove things. So like fundamentally, that's been my way of overcoming the fear associated with financial lack as a result of trying to create an entrepreneurial effort. Beyond, and that's personal / financial, I think the emotional stance is the sort of status sometimes is lost with being a successful African American who's contributing to community, who now all of a sudden may leave that you're known for. I was known as the engineer, the doctor, the lawyer, the teacher, and now I'm somebody working in a restaurant to try to make a business work. Like so, sometimes emotionally it feels like, man, is that what you're doing now? But in reality, it's exactly what I'm doing. I'll do anything it takes to make this effort succeed because in the creation of this is the proof that you can take what God has put in us with the little pieces that we have and a lot of people that are around us and make something. And that's really what I think African excellence looks like. It looks like returning to the place where our people had a whole lot less and did a whole lot more. And so that's part of what helps encourage me as well. Economic access is a challenge. You can't walk into a bank saying, yeah, I had a salary, I now have none, I own this property, I need you to give me the money that you have so that then I can create this vision that I have.
It's not how it works.
It doesn't work that way. So one of those things that I encourage people to do is find strategic partners and be able to share your why with the conviction that would lead you to bet on yourself.
Right.
Because if you're not betting on yourself, it's difficult to ask people to bet on you.
Right. Very true.
And so corporately, that's really what we're doing in a job. We're trading time for money, and they're betting on us, and we're letting them bet on us. And usually, if you're being paid X, they're charging the client X times 5, so they can afford to pay you. And so they're betting on you in a certain way. And so that's sometimes what we have to do when we're talking to partners is, listen, I have a vision, I have a plan, I have the pieces that I can share with you. I'm asking you to take this risk with me, so then together we can go and get the resources that make it possible. I think a lot of times we believe the self-made is really the solution, but I don't believe that at all. I mean, I am a twin, which makes me a sharer by nature.
Right.
But then from there, almost every entity that I'm associated with, I created with a partner. I own with a partner. And even when I don't financially need a partner, I sometimes will look for who are the younger people that could put a nickel in, that we could help develop a successful effort that would grow the available pool of partners for future work. So it's very strategic regarding the challenge of economic access, because the banker relationship is huge and important, and every chance I can introduce a different group of people with financial skill, drive, passion to bankers, and help them know, there are a pool of talented people who will do what they said they would do, who can deliver and who deserve that access. I want to multiply.
I love that. So I think that's a great segue, since you briefly touched on how you are helping the younger people come up who, you see that spark in them, you see that drive in them. I know you do that. You also do things for the homeless in the community. Touch on that a little bit about, I know you do the dinners for them. Share with them all what you're doing here in Nashville.
So as the local distro, we connect with everyone in the community. And as we do, we realize the needs are sort of beyond some of the services that we have. And some of them are even intangible and have no real financial trade. So one of the examples is we do community dinners for around holidays and events, because we want to establish this as an asset in a place around Thanksgiving where my twin brother and I, my oldest brother, Ra, who's the other owner here, where we got in the kitchen and cooked turkey 5 different ways, and then invited 50 people to sign up, whether anywhere in the neighborhood. So whether you were here for the temporary basis or here permanently, to sign up and be a part of this community dinner, which is a way to get these different communities to connect in one place. And then sort of a spin-off from that became, and that was insanely enjoyable. So we had turkey 5 ways, turkey taco, turkey tetrazzini, roasted turkey, and then a turkey soup, turkey noodle soup. So that was really great, and thanks to the people who helped make that possible. And then we had live music that night. So, but a spinoff from that became a birthday party once a month for children who are in the mission. So the children here are here daily, and we see them. And I think part of what it means to be community is to notice people. Is that I can't see you every day, and not after 5 weeks able to recall your name. Like that's insane. Every day you walk through this door, it's more than sir or ma'am. It's like Paul, Bill, Sarah, because that says we are human and we acknowledge each other's humanity. But then one of the things we said, look, if there are an opportunity to have one birthday cake on one day a month, in the middle of the month, and all the children with birthdays for that month come in here on the day that we're closed, on Mondays, on a Monday night, it gives the community a chance. So different people in the community buy the cake, they buy the ice cream, and they bring it, and then they come if they're available. And then we have this 1.5 hour birthday party of sorts for the children who have birthdays in that month. And then we pack up and close the door and go home. But that hour and a half makes a difference in the life of those children and the life of the people who get to participate. So we've had tremendous success in sort of creating those community efforts that I think go beyond just trading dollars for goods in this space.
You're definitely making a change. You are definitely a culture catalyst. I mean, especially here in Salem town, but then I think all across the city as well. Well, I want to thank you for sitting down with me today. Before I end any episode, I always ask, if you could put it in a sentence or two, how would you say you are Black redefined?
I mean, it's cliche to some degree, but I am Jesse and Burdell Radford's greatest dream. Mac and Laura Spies are my 2 sets of grandparents who were sharecroppers in Arkansas, who were farmers in Arkansas, who, although they never had much, always worked to share what they had and to own what they had, so that it was theirs to share. And so I think the ancestors who God poured out into me still live on through me. And so that would be the sentence, is the ancestors give me power and celebrate what God is still making possible through their contributions to me.
It's powerful. Thank you so much, Will. I appreciate it.
It was my pleasure.
Thank you. Now, make sure you all join in the conversation on Twitter. We want to see how you are Black redefined and what you're doing in your local communities. Also, make sure you follow us on Instagram at I Am Black Redefined. We'll see you next week.